the Friday Cocktail, presented by Anna Glowinski.
So I'm delighted to be starting my next interview with my next guest, talking about some really big and heavy topics, sharing a story from her heart. It's very raw, very honest, and I believe it's also quite humorous as well. Now, that is definitely going to be the thing that I want to talk about, because it goes into a family history that includes bipolar, dementia, estrangement, but then it also says that it includes flashes of humour. Now, how, Sherri, delighted to have you here, how did you manage to bring in topics like that and have it be lighthearted in places and humorous?
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me share my amazing, crazy life. And that was just it. It was my life. I had no choice. I started on Broadway when I was 7 and ended up in Hawaii learning about how to live aloha. Aloha, y'all.
Okay, so back to the question there. You bring these, big topics. People possibly listening have maybe connected at some point in their lives with something like that, or they're going through it at the moment. So how do you bring humour to such, quite deep, heavy, and in some places dark topics?
I think that's just my personality. That's who I am. And I live to make people laugh. And if you don't laugh, you cry. There's a saying that goes, So for me, actually the book poured out of me like I was, pardon my expression, puking. I couldn't stop it. My methodology of writing was to talk to my phone as the ideas or words or sentences were coming out. I send myself emails with the title of Mama Drama. It was a process. But for me, it was just normal to even at funerals. If you don't laugh, you cry. There are moments at a funeral that everybody it's like relief,
And is this how you've always approached your life? Or is this sort of a way that you've learnt or taught yourself that this is how you want to approach life?
Always. I've always been, I'd like to think I've always been funny. My Aunt Sheila was on Broadway with Buddy Hackett. You're probably too young to know who that was. But, that for me, I would watch TV like Mary Tyler Moore Show or all those things. And funny was my middle name, Sherri Funny Smith.
And so, you say you've got a funny personality and then you're on Broadway from a very young age. What was that experience like? Was it daunting? Did it shape you? Or do you think this was just meant for me and you were able to go out and shine?
Well, how it happened was my mom separated from my dad and she was going to go to a screening. And her date said he didn't mind if I came. Just happened that Meredith Wilson's representative, I don't remember exactly who was there, but they were looking for a child for Miracle on 34th Street. It was called Here's Love. They were looking for somebody Natalie Wood's age when she did that movie or TV or show or whatever. And he asked my mom, can she sing? Can she dance? And when you're an actor, yes, of course. Can you ride a horse? Of course I can ride a horse. You can do anything a director or a production person asks. I did not sing. I did not dance. I was taught. She picked out 2 songs for me, Red, Red Robin and Hey, Look Me Over. And I learned how to sing and I learned how to dance. That's the basic part. And I got the role. It was crazy.
It must have been so exciting. Does it? That's a very, very young age in your life. Are the memories still really clear and vivid, or is it something that you had to dig out in order to write this book?
I had to dig them out. I think I was the youngest person on the planet to get fired. I tried to research it, I tried to Google it. I couldn't find it. But from that came, I think that God just has a plan for you. And you better learn what you're here to learn, or you'll come back to repeat it and learn it. After that, I was cast on, and again, you're too young, but the M&M commercial, melts in your mouth, not in your hand. It's on my YouTube. It's 1960. And I think that it was we were poor living in Manhattan. We were struggling. My dad didn't pay alimony or child support. So my mom had to audition and get parts. And this M&M commercial allowed us to eat. I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's cool. So you're getting paid, for doing these jobs at a young age. Did you think, right, this is a responsibility. This is a career for me now?
Yeah, I actually did. I got a job on the Doctor's soap opera for a week. I had a part on an album with the singing nun. I had to sing in French, Dominica, Nika, Nika, and I can't sing. Okay, I cannot sing. Don't ask. I won't. But then they decided, when my mom met my stepfather, he asked my dad if he could adopt me. And my dad, so loving and giving, he said, of course. He wanted to make me his heir and beneficiary. So my bio dad said, of course. And George wanted me to continue my education. It was all about being smart. They wanted me to join Mensa. If any of your viewers know what that is, it's I forgot how you call it, but it's the largest intelligent community, whatever. And you had to score, I think, in the 98th percentile, and I was only the 94th percentile, So they wanted me, I went to a private girls' school, okay? They wanted me to succeed, go to college, blah, blah, blah. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was young. I love animals, dogs, more than people. But so, they said, focus on your learning. But then we moved to Vegas, and I just discovered, it was a naughty part of my life. You'll have to read the book if you want to know more. But I went to Vegas, and I said, who cares about school? So I was riding horses. And then I just decided, what am I going to do with my life? I still didn't know. So I joined the Navy. For me, my life is crazy just because these are the lessons and the turns I was meant to take. I joined the Navy. That was not for me. I was in the hospital corps. So I got out, and that's when I decided, well, maybe I'm supposed to be an actress, because nothing else is working. So I started auditioning again, and I was in The Greek Tycoon in a minor part. And that wasn't to be, but I started working for producers. I was auditioning. There was the team. Okay, well, I can, God bless my mom. She encouraged me, didn't make me. She encouraged me to take typing and shorthand and all that stuff. I said, this is better. I'm not going to be judged on my looks, but on my skills. So I got hired as PA, production assistant, on many, many, many projects. And then I started working for the bigwigs. I don't want to drop names. It's just not right. But the head of Warner Brothers at the time, the head of Telepictures at the time. And that's what I love to do. Just, go get my laundry, buy my brother a birthday gift. I love that. And then they suggested, well, you need to be an entrepreneur. Why don't you start a business doing errands for executives that don't have time? So I did. Executive Express, your personal runaround. But I couldn't make a living at it. Again, the college route was probably the best route. But for me, I was a serial entrepreneur because that's what I saw George do his whole life. Handbags and this, that, and the other. He did so many things. I thought, well, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, whatever that means. And that's where I ended up eventually in catering because again, what am I meant to learn? I was working for a company, and we were doing a company launch. This is way, way back in the end of the 80s. And they gave me the card of a man, and I called him, and he came in with the first mobile phone ever, over his shoulder. It was like 15 pounds, and I contracted with him to feed 1,500 people. And then afterwards I said, you didn't charge enough, and get your money before they go down the tubes because they're circling the drain. And he did. And again, then I'm left, what am I going to do now with my life? So I presented myself to him at his kitchen, and I was very impressed with a walk-in fridge and a walk-in freezer. So I thought, okay, I want to work for you. Oh, I just went bankrupt. I can't afford to hire anybody. I'm like, that should have been my first red flag. Flashing lights. Ding, ding, ding. And I did. We got married, and then discovered he was bipolar quite by accident, because back in those days, we didn't talk about mental defects, mental illness. But he was throwing things. You know, he threw a chair through our dining room plate glass window. He was abusive. He didn't hit me, but he was abusive in other ways. He was a bully. So after a while, I said, you got to go. You got to leave. So he left our house in Fullerton, stole our motorhome, stole a $20,000 check that his dad sent for our company to try to help us, and went to the Big Island. After about a year, he called, can I borrow $100? I'm like, yeah, okay, borrow. That means, can I have? So I sent it to him because I'm a schmuck. And then after a while, he wrote this letter. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Come to Hawaii, we'll heal. And I think that was my destiny. I am an island child. I lived there for 15 years. And it taught me how to live aloha. And that is my tagline. Aloha equals love. And it's not just a word. It's a way of life. So the lava started to flow. I said, well, time to come back to hell, Southern California, which I did. And I'm like, now what am I going to do? You know, it's just, it was phenomenal, though, because a screenplay poured out of me first. People made plans. And then the memoir after that, Mama Drama. And I was looking at this, you're going to laugh at this. I was looking at a trunk that I took from New York to Mexico. We lived in Mexico when I was 13, back to New York, back to Vegas, back then to California, back to New York. I had this trunk, and I'm looking at it going, when did this happen? When did that happen? I have every letter ever written to me. So I went through the trunk and scanned everything in there. It was crazy, but at least I have them by years, by decade. Beautiful letters from my parents. Oh, Sherri, Chicken. They called me such beautiful names. You know, sometimes they were yelling at me on the paper. Other times, I'm sorry, I love you, blah, blah, blah. But that helped me do the memoir immeasurably. You cannot believe how those letters. So I published them, because I thought, as I was laughing, people were making their artwork, you know, the trolls, write me. That was at the end of every letter. So I published them by decade, except the 60s was so many letters. I did it in 2 volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. The 70s also too many. And then we stopped writing letters. So the 80s, not so much. And the 90s was when I was focusing on catering. So, yeah, my life is an open book, but I don't do Facebook. I don't post publicly on Facebook. I guess that's just how weird I am. I write books.
That's the way that you wanted to express it. So, you know, you've done so many different things in your life, and you've lived so many different lives in one. What have you learned about reinvention of yourself?
Well, if you don't, you go down. I could be a bag lady on the street right now.
So it's surviving that pushed you forward.
Well, sure. And it's, what are my strengths? Well, I am intelligent. Well, I do know how to read and write. I pity the children who can't do anything but, you know, look at their device while they're walking, while they're eating, while they're sleeping pretty much. They're not going to be able to talk to anybody. And then again, it's God. God says, oh, go down this road. Oh, no, now you're meant to go here. So I kind of listened to my gut. I listened to the Lord. You know, you'll laugh at this. Okay, so I'm born Jewish. That's my DNA. Then my Jewish girlfriend grabbed me one day and said, come on, we're going to church. I'm like, what? We got baptized, born again Christian. My mom didn't speak to me for years. So, and then when I married my ex-husband, he was Mormon. He said, you got to get baptized. I'm like, I was baptized. He said, no, with authority. Whatever. So I did. And then we both studied Kabbalah, which I was shocked that he did. And then he stopped being a Mormon. He started doing everything I've never seen, drinking, LSD. It was just crazy. So that's when he went to jail. He got diagnosed for bipolar. I'm like, oh, now it's all making sense.
And how much did that diagnosis change how you forgave or interacted with this person?
Absolutely forgave. You cannot, yes, absolutely forgave because he was sick. Yeah. That's the only reason. Do I have to like him? He had the huevos. I shouldn't say anything. He had the huevos to ask me for a friend on Facebook. After all that happened and went down, he got out of jail. They let him out. He was sentenced to 10 years. They let him out after 3. And I got this Facebook friend request. I said, dude, I forgave you. That doesn't mean I want to be your buddy. So then he went back. Because if you don't stay on meds, you are doomed to act out again for the bad behavior. That's the one thing I learned about bipolar. Mm. And also, then I was meant to come back here because I got, from the bad person who I'll never mention, who stole everything, and my mom. He stole my mom from me in her last years. He called me from New York and goes, Sherri, go to Vegas. Your mom's, there's stuff missing off the walls. She was married to Don Cherry, who is, I don't know if he's old, before your time, but he was a celebrity golfer and a singer. He sang with Willie Nelson. And I went there, and indeed, some of the things were gone off the walls. But I thought, well, this guy is interested in dust because that's all that crap is. So if they stole it, so what? More importantly, I found my mom. Oh, then her husband died. Don died while I was there. And it's like something snapped in her. So she may have had or was getting dementia or Alzheimer's, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same, and it's all horrible, no matter what you call it. And I stayed with her for a couple of weeks, and she'd come running into my room every night and go, where's Don? I said, Mom, he died in your arms today. I was like, uh-oh. And then the next night, where's Don? Where's Donald? Mom, he died in your arms yesterday. That went on for 2 weeks. It was like Groundhog Day. It was horrible. So, and I left my cat and my catering business unattended in California. So I called my girlfriend and I flew her to Vegas. I said, you got to stay with my mom because she was running outside, not naked, but not fully clothed. And that's what they do when they have dementia and Alzheimer's. I'd never dealt with that before. So, and then one time I called her, and she said, who's this? I said, Sherri. She goes, oh, I have a daughter named Sherri. Ding, ding, ding. I'm like, oh, crap. So I started learning everything I could about Alzheimer's and dementia. And my plan was to pack up and sell all her crap, her dust in Vegas, and take her to live with me and take care of her. She took care of me for the first 15 years. I would take care of her for the last 15 years of her life, or no matter how long she had to live. That's when my cousin stole everything, and stole her. You'll have to read the book.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the book is absolutely jam-packed, full of stories, all over the place stories. There's, stories that almost seem hard to connect in one person and one life. But it definitely sounds like it's been a life lived. For sure.
Yes.
The book is called Mama Drama. It's by Sherri Smith, who just had the pleasure of listening to this evening. And you can find it on Amazon or the Talk Radio Europe bookshop. Sherri, thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Let me just make one mention. My writing partner, who helped me write People Make Plans, is coming to Spain to film his horror film, The Detectives. So you can look forward to that. And then he's going to do another one in England. Sorry. Okay. Never mind. And I prefer people go to my website, sherrismithauthor.com, SHERI Smithauthor.com, because this is what I've learned. It's
Fantastic.
better to
Thank you, Sherri. Thank you so much.